So again, the agency that demands that Americans keep their financial records for 7 years has now lost emails, wiped clean the critical hard drives, and employed a data backup company that did not back up the data. In this particular case, it's so, wow. Can you imagine trying to sell that to an IRS auditor who was coming after you? Even if no one here did anything wrong, there are questions of trust and credibility that are now reaching beyond the IRS. Mark Thiessen is the former chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush and a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. I mean, that's the problem, Mark, is that they want us to give them the benefit of the doubt, and a lot of Americans are standing there, arms crossed, saying, you don't deserve it.
Yeah, I think Paul Ryan spoke for millions of Americans when he looked at the IRS commissioner in the eye and said, we don't believe you. Nobody believes you. Because the problem is more and more millions of Americans don't trust what their government officials are telling them. Americans don't believe that no one at the IRS noticed that 2 years of Lois Lerner's emails disappeared, or that her hard drive crashed 10 days after she received a letter from the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee.
Her boss received it.
Her boss received it, or that 6 other people who were targets of the investigation mysteriously had their hard drives crash as well, or that none of that information is recoverable. They don't believe any of this. When President Obama says there's not a smidgen of corruption, they don't believe. Really, not a smidgen, nothing. So why don't they believe that? Because it's not just the IRS. It's the VA scandal. It's the GSA scandal. It's Benghazi and the president telling the American people that it was all an internet video and we didn't change the talking points. It's telling the American people that you can keep your doctor and your health care plan when they knew that wasn't true. It's the president drawing a red line in Syria and not enforcing it. What people see, it's over and over. The list goes on and on.
James
people
Clapper with we don't spy on people, not wittingly, we don't collect their data. Eric Holder, I've never even heard of the potential criminal prosecution of a journalist while he's spying on James Rosen and naming him as a co-conspirator in a criminal case. I mean, the list goes on. The IRS chief, Stephen Miller, who testified before Congress about the IRS scandal and said, no, we've never targeted conservative groups, while he knew the inspector general was investigating them for targeting. And he was asked whether that was even an issue and said no. He got called before Congress after it all came out, and he said, well, it wasn't targeting. You know, that I disagreed with that word. But he didn't tell the full truth, which is that exact allegation has been levied and we're being investigated for it right now.
Or the commissioner for the IRS, meeting with Senator Wyden and Senator Hatch a week ago, didn't tell him, omitted the fact that 6 other people had their hard drives crashed too. So even lying by omission to the Democratic chairman of the Senate committee investigating this. So this is a pattern that's going on, not just in the IRS, but in a number of different areas. And what's happening is that people's trust in 2 things: the competence and honesty of the federal government is being decimated. And look, trust in Republicans in Congress is even lower than it is in Democrats in the White House. But the difference is Barack Obama came to office with the intention and goal of restoring trust in government. He came in as the anti-Reagan. You'll remember Ronald Reagan came in and said the most frightening words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Barack Obama came with the goal of making those the most comforting words in the English language. And he has failed utterly to do that.
His critics say when the tough gets right? When the going gets tough, he goes political. And he, rather than taking responsibility, showing accountability, and having an honest conversation of this is why this happened, he goes to the political place, says what's politically convenient and what he thinks his supporters want to hear.
Exactly. It's a phony scandal. Just today, Josh Earnest said this is Republican conspiracy theories from the podium of the White House. I mean, people want answers from their government. They want their government to tell them the truth about what's happening. And the result is, Fox News poll just came out a couple of weeks ago, only 37% of the American people trust their government. 37%. The Gallup poll recently found that 72% of Americans think that big government is the biggest threat to the country. That includes a majority of Democrats. That's the largest number in the history of the poll. American trust in the competence and honesty of government is eroding, which is exactly the opposite of what Barack Obama's goal was coming into office.
Mark, good to see you.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, a new poll